Menstrual history, Meenaka 12, regular cycle, not associated with pain or clots. Summary, a 30-year-old female came with history of acute rheumatic fever. The chief complaints of dyspnea for 6 months, palpitation and easy fatigability for 1 month, associated with symptoms including orthopnea and paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea, and also with cough with blood-streaked sputum for the past 2 weeks and bilateral pupil edema, all of which indicates a case of left heart dysfunction.
Go back to the first slide. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next slide. Yeah, next. The chief complaint you were discussing is previous slide. Breathlessness, fatigability, and palpitation. Next slide. Breathlessness. You mentioned that patient is having a PND for the past 4 weeks. Is it
Yes,
episodic or she is getting it daily?
Episodic, sir.
Probably the patient started developing PND 4 weeks back, and it is repeatedly. Is it having daily or patient is having? That can be highlighted. Okay, PND is the acute event, isn't it? PND is a feature that occurs. What is PND?
PND is paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea.
So paroxysmal. It's paroxysmal and nocturnal night. So when you say that, you can see how many episodes is having post. Patient started developing an episode of PND 4 weeks back, and since then she is developing repeatedly for the many number of times for the past 4 weeks. You can say, right? Okay, that should be your presentation. Instead of saying that 4 weeks, it is an episode. PND is an episode. Orthopnea is nothing patient difficult and breathing. That's okay. That can say patient every day they is having. PND is the one probably patient if takes some treatment, patient may not experience it. So when you elaborate that, you just put this like that. That patient started developing an episode of PND sometime back, and right, that's the point we are supposed to highlight as far as the PND is concerned. And there is a history of palpitation is there for the past 1 month duration. Occasional episodes. How many episodes can you able to mention? One episode only. How many episodes occasionally we put it as? It is sudden only usually. You then do a character. How do you assess the character by history? By exertion, relieved by rest for 5 minutes. So she develops palpitation only when she exerts. That's what I want to say.
Yes, sir.
Exertional palpitation. Okay. So does it only precipitated by the exertion? What could be the cause for palpitation in this patient? You say there is a breathlessness. You know, it is, as rightly said, it is a component of the left heart failure. As well taken, patient is a PND, orthopnea, or there is a classical history of the left heart failure accepted. In this scenario of left heart failure, also having palpitation as a history, or this having for the past 1 month only. And also PUC is only occasional, it is not permanent one. And it was sudden onset. That means episodes means she had developing the palpitation and is recovering also. It is not a continuous one. She is not having the palpitation regularly, and it occurs only suddenly at some days. Probably occasionally put it as. You can also mention that how many episodes she could have experienced, and only present only during exertion. What do you infer from that history? You say also not associated with syncope, chest pain, and polyuria. Why is this history of syncope now? Palpitation and syncope. Why this combination?
If the palpitation is because of an arrhythmia, there will be hypotension, and if there is hypotension, there will be less perfusion to the brain, and syncope can be caused.
So probably the event of some arrhythmia. What arrhythmia can present as hypotension? Many of the arrhythmias are usually hemodynamically insignificant also. So as rightly said, only the person is having hemodynamic stability, we are supposed to treat that also. So in this patient, what could be the possible arrhythmia you suspect in this patient?
Atrial fibrillation, sir.
Do you want to say it's a paroxysmal atrial fibrillation?
Yes, sir.
Paroxysmal atrial fibrillation. That's what the patient you say it's irregular. It is there a sudden onset and occasional episode. You said, and do you want to say the arrhythmia is persisting throughout for the past 1 month duration, or it comes paroxysmal?
It's paroxysmal.
You want to say it's paroxysmal for the past 1 month paroxysmal, and it is precipitated by exertion, relieved by or taking rest. And do you have the what? Suppose in this patient you suspect is rheumatic heart disease. The patient develops atrial fibrillation. Usually it is paroxysmal. What type of atrial fibrillation common in rheumatic heart disease? When you say types of atrial fibrillation, it is paroxysmal, persistent, and permanent, isn't it? These three types you should know. There are three types as for the presentation of atrial fibrillation concern. It could be paroxysmal, it could be persistent, or it could be permanent, isn't it? So, so what do you think usually as a rheumatic heart disease, they have a paroxysmal or permanent one? Paroxysmal is the one that is short duration. Patient rhythmic abnormality will return to normal after 48 hours. Okay. Very paroxysmal is short time. Persistent may last up to 2 to 3 weeks, and permanent is beyond 1 month, like that. It is categorized. And what do you think the usual in rheumatic heart disease?
In rheumatic heart disease, it's paroxysmal, sir.
Usually permanent, ma'am. Usually persist always, isn't it? So whenever you examine the person, atrial fibrillation will persisting. Okay, there is some damage is taken place. That's why the problem here in atrial fibrillation due to rheumatic heart is permanent. That's why we don't take any steps for what is the treatment of choice when you do a rheumatic heart disease atrial fibrillation? What is the aim of the therapy?
Digoxin, beta blockers, calcium.
What will be the aim of the therapy? What is the aim? When you treat atrial fibrillation due to rheumatic heart disease, what should be the aim of the treatment? The aim is not to revert to normal rhythm. In contrast, paroxysmal is the condition due to many electrolyte disturbance. So ischemia, so many causes are there for paroxysmal atrial fibrillation. There, your aim is to revert to normal rhythm, right? Revert to normal rhythm, either you can do bacterically or pharmacologically, right? The two methods are there. In contrast, in rheumatic heart disease patient developing atrial fibrillation, which is usually a permanent one, your aim is to control the rate, right? Your aim is to control the rate. You need not bother about cardioversion. The version is not usually advocated. Okay. Very difficult to convert it to the normal rhythm. Or when you do the procedure, they have a chance of developing a embolism, everything is more common. That's why aim is to only to control. There is some permanent damage happened to the cardiac atrium. Atrium get dilated and all the fibrous tissues are there. So damage is taken permanently, and we cannot convert it into a normal rhythm. Atrial fibrillation is going to persist, right?
Okay, sir.
Even if you do surgery also. So in that case, your aim is to control the rate and prevent the, as you obviously that it is to prevent any development of thrombus in the atrium. That is the aim, isn't it? So that's the two important steps of treatment what you plan in the case of a atrial fibrillation due to rheumatic heart disease. So in this case, probably we have to take a little more carefully, right? Okay. Anyway, the common arrhythmia, what you expect, you rightly said, is atrial fibrillation, rheumatic heart disease. There are some more common because of electrolyte disturbance, even a PVC, premature ventricular contraction or extracellularly, also can be the presentation. And since the history of polyuria, yes, probably you think of patient. What do you think of polyuria?
Because of the stretching of the left atrium, atrial natriuretic peptide will be produced.
So probably you will get an SVTs, suprarenal tachycardia, all the arrhythmias, polyuria can occur. Exactly. Okay, right. Okay, proceed. Next slide.
History of EC fatigability for 1 month duration.
That's a part of the cardiac failure. Okay.
History of cough with blood-streaked pink frothy sputum for past 2 weeks.
So what do you think the cause for hemoptysis now? There
Rupture
is
of the
hemoptysis. Cough with blood stain. So you can safely say it is a hemoptysis. Patient has hemoptysis, and here also can say how many episodes you can say, or it is a continuous one, whatever you want to say, and for the past 2 weeks. And insidious onset, progressive in nature. What is progressive in nature? I don't understand that. Not foul smelling. You can put it as expectorant. They say they can add expectorant is not foul smelling. What is expectorant also you should add.
Okay,
Patient
sir.
is having a cough with blood stained sputum, finkly frothy sputum, we put it as. So it clearly indicates it's a feature of a
Pulmonary edema, acute pulmonary
pulmonary edema. She is having a pulmonary edema. It is an acute event, and patient that occurs, it is acute event usually. It is acute event, not insidious in nature, usually acute.
Okay,
And
sir.
it may recur, you can say, now progressive means maybe the episodes are increasing for the past 2 days, that you can say. So patients getting more number of episodes of that's acute pulmonary edema you can add. That's the point you can add, and there you can have a expectorant is pink frothy sputum. Not you don't expect for foul smelling at this point of time now.
Okay, sir.
So patient is having a hemoptysis. That is also a component of the disease. Okay. A bilateral leg swelling, you put it as. That also indicates so pain for the past 1 week, and it associated with not as a facial swelling oliguria. Evening increase in swelling is there, and disappears in the morning. And also issue many sacral edema also whether patient was the edema, where does it first noted? Usually it is patient usually sacral region, isn't it? Sacral region is the first place it gets noted. And as I rightly said, it disappears in the morning. So all these are features of the right heart failure. Yeah, this is a patient having a. Now you conclude that patient having congestive cardiac failure. Right. Next.
History of 3 episodes of fever, sore throat, and joint pain in the past 5 years.
Okay. So this is about you going to the past history or present history?
Present history only, sir.
Bring it to the past history. Okay.
Okay.
Present history is the one history for the you said some months and days. That is the history we're supposed to discuss. Right. So this can take it to the past history. There are many history of history, history of rheumatic fever. Patient had many episodes has been noted the past 5 years, I can say. And is there any history of hospitalization also can mention about that? So to conclude that it is only a rheumatic heart disease. So this point you can take it to the past history, right? Next slide. And now you can bring it here. And also had history of 15 years. She had first episode of acute history, rheumatic fever, and hospitalized in a private hospital. And patient, as you mentioned, was penicillin. So patient had a rheumatic fever. Okay, then proceed. Family history, you put as overcrowding, and okay, no family history of similar results fever. Younger brother also affected, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So does it run in family rheumatic fever?
No, sir, it doesn't. But
yes, okay.
DR2, the histocompatibility complex, it gives a predilection for rheumatic fever.
Okay, agreed. Okay, usually the family members are affected. Okay, that non-contagious disease, and usually family history is not contributory, right? Okay, next point. Okay, proceed. So summarizing, with history of rheumatic fever. Okay, so just we have to be what to say, just alteration is to made. So we had to say the patient, the prime complaint patient. Now, say that I can say that patient age is 30-year-old female admitted with the symptoms suggestive of congestive cardiac failure. Right? That point only valid. That's all point. Now
Okay.
there's no need to discuss all the other history. Same thing cannot repeat. The summary is only the concluding remarks. Patient,
Okay.
the final point what we said. The congestive cardiac failure, left heart dysfunction la vanda. This should be related. So patient is having a admitted with features of congestive cardiac failure. That's the only point you can say now. And the underlying disease could be due to a rheumatic heart disease, as patient had history of rheumatic fever, recurrent disease past. As you can see, right?
Okay,
So
sir.
no rheumatic fever. Let's remove that. So now your conclusion is that
A 30-year-old female.
admitted for features of congestive cardiac failure. Okay, now it doesn't have rheumatic fever, isn't it? So rheumatic fever. So with the past history of rheumatic heart disease, you can say, or rheumatic fever, whatever it may be. Okay, so you bring it the present scenario as the first one, right? Then in the background of rheumatic heart disease, I'll put a rheumatic heart disease because 15 years she had, but before 6 months was she hospitalized for this type of symptoms, breathlessness? No.
No, sir.
Right. So also we had a recurrent history of rheumatic fever also. That's what you mentioned there. Yeah, some episodes were there. Right.
Yes, sir.
So patient had an history of suggestive rheumatic fever. So I suspect it's rheumatic heart disease. That's what. Right.
Okay, sir.
So cardiac failure is the one component is clearly highlighted, and underlying cause, as rightly said, is rheumatic heart disease. Simple. Proceed. Yes, go ahead.
General examination. The patient is conscious, dyspneic and tachypneic at rest, oriented to time, place and person with moderate build and nourishment. Patient has no pallor, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing, significant generalized lymphadenopathy. Patient has bilateral pitting period edema at ankles. Vitals, pulse rate 108 per minute, irregular rhythm, variable volume and character with normal condition of vessel wall. All peripheral pulses are felt, no radio-radial delay, no radiofemoral delay. Heart rate 120 beats per minute recorded simultaneously with radial pulse. Pulse deficit 12. BP is 110/50 mm-Hg. Pulse pressure is 60 mm-Hg. Respiration rate 22 breaths per minute. Temperature afebrile. JVP elevated 5 cm above sternal angle. Absent A wave with prominent B wave. Previous examination. Chest wall appears to be symmetrical. An AP diameter 25 cm, transverse diameter 35 cm with AP transverse ratio 5:7. Trachea appears to be in midline. Apical impulse visualized in the left 6th intercostal space, lateral to mid-clavicular line. There appears to be no venous engorgement, no precordial bulge, scars or sinuses. Epigastric and parasternal pulsations are visualized. Palpation. Tracheal position confirmed to be in midline. Apex beat is felt in the left 5th and 6th intercostal space. 1.25 cm lateral to mid-clavicular line. Diffuse and hypodynamic in character. Presence of diastolic thrill over mitral area. Presence of systolic thrill over mitral area. Epigastric pulsation over parasternal pulsation felt on tip of palpating fingers. Left parasternal heave is present. Palpable P2 present. Percussion. Right border of heart found to be within normal limits. Left border of heart shift 1.25 cm lateral to mid-clavicular line. Pulmonary area dullness is felt. Auscultation. Mitral area S1, S2, S3 heard. Irregular S1. S1 is soft, low-pitched, rough, rumbling mid-diastolic murmur without pre-systolic attenuation heard with the bell of the stethoscope with patient in the left lateral position and breath held in expiration. Before the diastolic murmur, opening snap is heard. Also, in the systolic period, there is high-pitched blowing pansystolic murmur heard by the diaphragm of the stethoscope, radiating to the axilla and the left interscapular area, duration of which increases on squatting and isometric hand grip and decreases on standing. Tricuspid area, S1, S2, S3 heard. Irregular S1. High-pitched pansystolic murmur, attenuated during inspiration. Pulmonary area, S1, S2 heard. Irregular S1. Loud P2. High-pitched, soft-blowing decrescendo early diastolic murmur during full inspiration. Aortic area, S1, S2 heard. Irregular S1. No murmur is heard in aortic area. Other system, abdomen, tender hepatomegaly, no splenomegaly, no free fluid present. Respiratory system, bilateral basal crepitations present, fine crackles, right side diminished breath sound. Central nervous system, no focal neurological deficit, no signs of limb weakness, aphasia, memory impairment, or cranial nerve dysfunction. Provisional diagnosis, a case of acquired valvular heart disease of rheumatic etiology, affecting mitral valve, both stenotic and regurgitant, complicated with pulmonary hypertension, right heart failure, and atrial fibrillation with no signs of infective endocarditis. Investigation, CBC.
We will discuss later that. Go to the clinical examination finding. Okay, patient is take everything mentioned. No failure or no. So you just put that positive signs first. So first you put write that as a bilateral fitting. Edema present. Positive sign should be first. Then you go for negative signs as mentioned. Okay, that is the point. Should be that's only correction I want to make. So whenever you examination of cardiac system examined, rightly you point out patient the appearance of the patient, whether the patient is comfortable or uncomfortable. If uncomfortable, as you mentioned, dyspneic and tachypneic at rest point is well taken, and orientation, another thing you mentioned, will also mentioned good. Then followed by bilateral petechial is there, and now plus everything file point. Okay, then go to the vitals. Here the point you mentioned is a irregular pulse. Mentioned deficit has been well documented of 12, and pulse rate you said is 108, and regular pulse, and BP also can write. Better to take 3 readings, Liam. Supposed to take a blood pressure is taken. Better to take a common reading should be taken. Usually in a atrial fibrillation, you take a reading and the average should be taken. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So the average of 3 reading can make it up. So pulse pressure you put it as a 60 millimeter mercury. So it is normal or abnormal?
It is normal, but on the higher end.
50 is normal. Yeah, 50 is normal. So somewhat 60 is somewhat high only. 110/50 you put it as. So do you surprised about this BP finding, or what is your impression about this BP now? 110/50 in this patient.
He has a dominating regurgitant lesion. So in regurgitant lesions, the pulse pressure is high usually.
Pulse pressure very high, yeah. Which regurgitation pulse pressure very high?
Mitral regurgitation, sir.
Will produce wide pulse pressure.
Yes, sir.
Any reference here?
Alagappan, sir. Alagappan book.
Alagappan says wide pulse pressure.
Yes, sir.
Wide pulse pressure is a feature of aortic regurgitation. Isn't it?
Okay, sir.
So whenever there is a drop in diastolic pressure also, it is more in favoring a regurgitation lesion of aortic leak, aortic regurgitation, right?
Okay,
so
sir.
when you do hemodynamically, Do you get white pulse pressure in mitral regurgitation? We'll come to that later. We'll have a discussion about that. If you bother, you should know the hemodynamic as what the changes in it in the case of mitral regurgitation. Okay. So,
Okay, sir.
so 30 to 50 or some people 60 also. As I said, high level or still I say it is high. It is high. It is increased. That's what I put it as.
Okay, sir.
So, do you expect this finding in cardiac failure patient? What happened to the?
Hello, sir.
What happened to the pulse volume in left heart failure?
Okay, left heart failure pulse volume will high volume, but will be collapsing if it's very severe, sir.
No. My question here is a patient who is having. Here is the case you clinically suspect is a congestive cardiac failure, isn't it? It's a congestive cardiac failure.
Yes,
It
sir.
means both side of the chambers is failed.
Yes,
So,
sir.
what will be the usually pulse change you will expect in a congestive cardiac failure? Straightforward question. What happened to systolic? That's simple. What happened to systolic pressure?
It will reduce, sir.
Systolic pressure will reduce. Diastolic pressure, what will happen? The vasoconstriction.
It will increase.
So usually the pulse volume, don't expect it is widened, ma'am. It will be a pulse. Usually it will be either normal volume or small volume pulse. Yeah, one of the cause for small volume pulse is congestive cardiac failure, isn't it? Left heart failure, isn't it?
Okay, sir.
So pulse volume may be small. In that case, should be pulse pressure should be around 30.
Okay, sir.
There's a point why I want to stress is it's a surprising finding for me. BP recorded what you put it as, and also the widened pulse pressure, it is surprising to me. Reason being,
Okay, sir.
patient is having congestive cardiac failure. Usually, what happened to the pulse change? There will be a narrow pulse pressure. Okay, narrow pulse pressure. I
Okay.
don't expect, or it can be normal also, but it will not be wide. So, wide pulse pressure indicates usually it's a feature of a high output cardiac failure. Okay, it's entity called as a high output cardiac failure. It happens anemia, beriberi, so many conditions of that. The situation is a different situation. There's a high output status, the cardiac output will be more. There we will get a systolic pressure will be more and diastolic pressure will low. Okay, there is that's called as a large volume pulse of graditis. Collapsing pulse of graditis.
Okay, sir.
But that happens only in the case of a high output cardiac failure. Understand? So, with your
Yes, sir.
finding, just the surprise to me. Okay, in your pulse rate, I accepted that patient atrial fibrillation, and also there is a irregular pulse also has been noted. So, 108 is accepted maybe because of the patient on treatment, pulse and the control still we have to keep the pulse rate should be controlled lower level. And what do you expect in pulse rate in cardiac failure? What happened to the pulse rate in cardiac failure? It will be
Increase, sir.
increased. Very good. It will be increased. So pulse rate will be, heart rate will be increased in the case of congestive cardiac failure. These are signs of congestive cardiac. What are the signs? Somebody asks signs of congestive cardiac failure. Right side failure, you know, simple. It is a raised JVP, tender hepatomegaly, epididyma, right? So when you say the signs of right heart failure, one is the elevated jugular pressure. Number 2 is the tender hepatomegaly. Number 3 is the bilateral petechial. These are 2-3 signs of right heart failure. So left heart failure signs will be pulse. What you get it is a tachycardia, right? So just I say tachycardia is a feature of the left heart failure, and pulse volume may be low. Or any character can you specify in the case of congestive left heart failure? Can you specify any special character can be documented in pulse case of
pulse is alternate, sir.
Very good. Pulse is good. So pulse is alternates. It's usually not clinically difficult to confirm it. We are supposed to do a arterial tracing, then we can confirm it, or we have methods of the BP, everything is there. But anyway, you just know that there's a pulse is alternance in the character of the pulse, what you expect in the case of the
Congestive
left heart failure, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Proceed. So there's a finally point I want to comment on that, and taking BP readings also mandatory. And you have mentioned about all the pulses are felt equally. Written. Radio femoral delay written. Radio delay and radio femoral delay. Okay, right. Okay, then next slide. JP is elevated, absent AVs. Absent AVs, that also signifies it is a
atrial fibrillation.
And you put a prominent B wave is also there. What does signify?
Tricuspid regurgitation.
That is not mentioned diagnosis. Diagnosis supposed to mention, Leah, have you mentioned? Okay, we'll come to the later. No. Then proceed. Okay. Examination. So what is trachea protest? Patient is symmetrical. Okay. Apical impulse is visualized. Left critical space. Okay. Venous engorgement. No. Caudal belch cause sinus. Okay. You know, it appears to be a don't put that word under. There is no venous engorgement. No enlarged veins, you can put it as no enlargement of veins, no precaudal belch, no scars or sinuses. Epigastric and parasternal pulsation are visualized, you put it as. Okay. Right,
yes,
proceed. Sir. Why now put it as epic beat? Apex beat is felt. Apical impulse, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why you want to look at the beat now? Heart beat, apex beat. Apical impulse. The better term should be apical impulse only. What okay, mentioned inspection, you mentioned apical impulse. Now you are bringing an apex beat. Anybody says that word apex beat in palpation? Or yourself coined the word?
Yes, I thought that in palpation it should be mentioned like apex beat, sir.
Palpation beat. It's only apical impulse only.
Okay, sir.
Apical impulse is felt.
Yes, sir.
And you put the diffuse and hypertonic nature. Very good, you said. So by this finding, apical impulse, now put it as 6 interface space. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
So better nothing but what is apical impulse? Definitely is the outermost and lowermost point. Don't put 2 spaces.
Okay, sir.
It's saving diffuse. That means it occupies 2 interval space. Yes, but apical impulse is the one. It is the outermost and lowermost point of cardiac impulse, isn't it? So you say that apical impulse is felt in the 6th space. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You don't put it as 2 spaces. It is diffuse. You can say. It's diffuse. You can say. So apical impulse is nothing but the outermost, lowermost part of the cardiac impulse. So in this case, it should be 6th space. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. Proceed. Right. Otherwise, thrill is there. You felt thrill. Diastolic and systolic thrill, both thrill made out. Epigastric and parasternal pulsation. Parasternal pulsation. Why do you again put left parasternal heave? So why do you want to bring in 2 important findings now? Epigastric pulsation felt, you can put it as right. Okay. You have said that the left parasternal heave is there and the parasternal pulsation. 2 points you have added now. Felt on the tip of the palpating finger where parasternal pulsation, right or left? Which side? You written epigastric pulsation and parasternal pulsation felt. The tip of the palpating finger.
Left parasternal pulsation, sir.
Again, you put it as a parasternal heave. Why? Second point, other point. Both are the same finding or different finding, or what do you infer from that?
Heave is normally felt with the base of the palm.
No. Point here is what about parasternal region?
Right heart hypertrophy. That's what I'm trying to say with that.
Right?
So, right ventricle hypertrophy.
That is okay. Point it can occur in so many causes. But here is the point. What to mention is that there's a left parasternal heave we mentioned, accepted. That point is well taken. You are supposed to do the method of looking for parasternal heave. Again, put it as a whole parasternal pulsation where it is seen. Where it is felt there. Right side,
Left side, sir.
Now, why do you want to put it as 2 times? The question here is there is a method called left parallel heave is the method supposed to palpate. Again, bringing in a parallel pulse felt with the tip of the finger. What do you mean by that? Where it is felt? Which interface space?
Fourth intercostal space.
Parasternum means adjoining the parasternum.
Okay,
Adjoining sternum. Parasternum means basically it could be either side of the sternum. Rightly or leftly. Importance given for the left parallel heave, rightly said. That is the feature of right ventricular hypertrophy also, rightly said, accepted. Valid point you said. Okay. Why do you want to bring in again personal pulsation now? What do you infer from that finding?
I didn't I thought I should mention it twice, sir. I didn't know if it's not meant to be mentioned.
No, there is no need, Lemma, no need. It's only parallel heave.
Okay, sir.
Parallel heave. Then you grade it. If it is a pulsation, it's only grade 1, you grade it.
Okay, sir.
Right? Grade it. Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 is there, isn't it?
Okay,
so, heave is nothing but usually is pressure, pressure overloaded. So, grade it. Grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. That's a point you're supposed to mention. Grade it. Right?
Okay, sir.
Don't bring in twice. Why do you want to bring twice hypogasic pulsation you mentioned? The separately also says the left person no need to bring in again about the pulsation, right? So also
Okay.
P2 is also fell to put it as okay. Then next slide. Concussion, okay. They don't much give important cardiology, right? Next. Auscultation.
Sorry to disturb. The IAS officer.
காலைல போனார் பார்க்கல இன்னைக்கு பார்த்துட்டேன் சார் டீம்
பார்த்துருக்காரு.
டீம் காலைல
99,000 இருக்கு. OTPT mind raise sir. 101.
டீம் மாதிரி தான் இருக்கு மேடம்.
CRP 30 sir. IgM negative. நல்லா இருக்காரு. April 2 days.
2 days full ரிசல்ட் இருக்காரு.
ஆமா. செப்போடம்ல இருந்தார் சார் 3 days. இப்போ டாக்ஸி மட்டும் கீதா போனா.
ஆமா வராங்க. நீங்க போறீங்க? அப்படியே. நேத்து ஃபோன் பண்ணி தான் சொன்னாங்க நியூஸ்ல.
வேற யாராவது இங்க போறாங்க சார்? இங்க இருந்து?
தெரியல மேடம் ஐடியா. சார் ஃபோன் பண்ணாங்க சார் போறட்டாங்க. சாந்தி தெரியல. சார் கேட்கல.
ஓகே.
Right. So, go to the auscultation. Now, said that the S1, S2 heard. Irregular S1. And soft S1 also.
Yes, sir.
One is soft and loud.
Sir?
You said irregular S1.
Yes, sir.
That means the volume of the first out sound is irregular. One at times soft, at times loud. That's what it means. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Then why do you want to put again soft? The soft next point are there.
Yes, sir.
Next
I mean,
point
I
is
didn't know how
soft.
to put it. In atrial fibrillation, there's usually irregular
That's
S1.
what you just put a irregular pitch means you one is S1 at one point of time it is soft, one point of time it is loud. That's what it means. We mentioned that. In
Okay.
that case, S1 either you can categorize as a loud sound, normal sound, soft, normal, loud, irregular all the components. Either of these four you selected. Now you select irregular. Okay, that's the point. Don't bring in again soft S1 now.
Okay, sir.
Understand?
Yes, sir.
So either the change of volume because of the change, the volume of the contraction changes. So it may be either irregular. That means atrial fibrillation, as you rightly said. In atrial fibrillation, the one sometimes is soft, at times is loud. Okay, that point should write it. Right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So then go for the additional sounds. Okay, ma'am. After the sounds, we have to mention about the additional sounds. Added sound, additional sound, whatever call it. So then mention that. What is the sound you are hearing now additionally? You said opening step is heard. S3 is heard.
Yes, sir.
Both you are hearing.
Yes, sir.
Oh. So you can able to hear both the S3 and opening snap. Okay, what is the difference of that S3 and opening snap?
Opening snap is usually heard in mitral stenosis because of the sudden opening of the mitral dome
Okay,
shape.
accepted. Okay, then
S3 is because of mitral regurgitation, sir.
so both can be heard in situation. Both can be heard. Okay, very difficult to hear because both are as well given. Both are very narrow. Which one occurs first? Opening snap or S3?
Opening snap, sir.
Opening snap will be followed by S3, right? Said also S3 also can be heard in your case also, isn't it? Without mitral regurgitation, can I get opening snap?
Yes, sir.
How?
Opening snap is because of
No, in this patient, the opening snap is due to mitral stenosis, as you rightly said, accepted. Yes, accepted. Okay, number one. And S3 could be due to a left heart failure also.
Okay, sir.
S3 is a sign of a left heart failure. Okay.
Okay, sir.
S3 is also, as rightly said, it is a feature of a mitral regurgitation, well accepted. Also, one of the feature of the severe MR also. Not only S3 denotes it is a feature of MR, also it is a feature of a severe MR also, right?
Okay, sir.
It's the assessment of severity. And the second point, in this patient, as the patient is having a left heart failure, S3 also may be a component of a failure. தலைவர் கிளாஸ்ல இருக்க தலைவரை கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன் நான் கால் பண்ணிட்டேன் கால் பண்ணிட்டோம் ஓகே ஓகே நான் உடனே பார்த்து அப்டேட் பண்ண தலைவா கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன் நான் பார்த்து கன்ஃபார்ம் பண்றேன் ஐ வில் கால் யூ பேக் பண்ணிடுறேன் Right, okay, then proceed. There's a rough rumbling mid-diastolic murmur is heard in the mitral area. Okay, the flood like being pushed. Okay, then also there is a high pitched. You should mention a grading also, Lema.
Oh, okay,
is
sir.
there, so you should mention grade also should mention.
Yes, sir.
Diastolic usually say grade 4 maximal. And if it is and also opening snap should be mentioned early. You should be after the hot sounds, go for the opening snap and S3. Then mention about the murmur, character, and the grading. Everything should mention. All the points are covered, but only the order has to be changed. Good. Then high-pitched blowing panspermic murmur with the diaphragm of the murmur heard and conducted to the carotids, conducted to the axilla. And which is increasing with the
Squatting and isometric. Yes, sir.
All these you need not know. My patient is sick,
Okay, sir.
You want to do in this patient is only done patient who is hemodynamically stable or patient who is okay. You should in this patient I don't expect to do that. No, need not. Look for just a murmur. You made out thrill. And you can mention there's a murmur, panspermic murmur. It's also connected to the axilla, as you rightly said. Okay. Grading is murmur probably is grade 5/6. Okay. And other areas, pulmonary area, said as S1 is to heard, and P2 is loud to mention. And you are able to Grahamshell murmur also.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because of pulmonary hypertension. In the tricuspid area, you can able to hear a alveolar sign is positive. The panspermic murmur, increasing inspiration, so TR, so aortic area is normal. Okay. With all your finding, complete the diagnosis now.
a case of acquired valvular heart disease of rheumatic etiology affecting mitral valve, pulmonary valve, and tricuspid valve. Complicated with, affecting.
No, don't put it like that. So don't say that all the valves are diseased by the rheumatic fever. Not like that. So it is a patient. You say that there is the findings is there is a mitral stenosis and mitral regurgitation. You put it as don't put affecting mitral valve, post that all these terms not accepted. So you say the diagnosis is a acquired valvular heart disease, mitral stenosis and mitral regurgitation of rheumatic etiology.
Yes, sir.
With pulmonary hypertension and tricuspid regurgitation.
Yes, sir.
That will be added. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Primary problem disease is a rheumatic heart disease involving the mitral valve, as rightly said. So mitral stenosis and mitral regurgitation with the pulmonary hypertension. Okay. With
Yes,
pulmonary hypertension and functional TR. And put it as a functional tricuspid regurgitation and congestive cardiac failure. Congestive cardiac failure, no rheumatic, no infiltrated endocarditis, point you can add. Okay, that is accepted. Don't say both stenotic and tricuspid. Patient, you say there is a diagnosis is a acquired valvular heart disease, mitral stenosis and mitral regurgitation with pulmonary hypertension and tricuspid regurgitation. The probable etiology is a the etiology is a rheumatic fever. Okay. Patient is congestive cardiac failure and atrial fibrillation and atrial fibrillation. So all the components are mentioned. What is the heart disease? What is the etiology? If the patient is in rhythm is normal, is in failure. All the pointers be covered. If the congenital heart disease, you can put as a site test, solid test, the pointer be added. So 5 components has to be mentioned diagnosis. Here the rheumatic mitral stenosis and regurgitation with the pulmonary hypertension and functional TR, atrial fibrillation and congestive cardiac failure. All those pointers you mentioned as a diagnosis. Right?
Yes, sir.
Good. With the finding. And here, do you think it's which is maybe the dominant lesion in this patient? Which is more dominant? Probably for MS and MR, you want to see both. Is there any finding for MR or for MS? Okay, difficult to comment.
Regurgitation, sir, because S3 is seen in only severe MR, so it's a dominant MR case.
Okay, there is definitely severe MR. Is there? No question. There is no dispute because patient is having used apical impulse 6th place. Leon, apical impulse in 6th place, and apical impulse is a user diffuse in character. User S3, grade 5/6 systolic murmur. So all these things denotes it is a definitely the large left ventricle is there. So there is definitely a severe MR is there. And mitral stenosis, if you say it is a dominant finding, you will get usually a tapping apical impulse, and usually there will be a what are the signs? Because atrial fibrillation is the only finding. Usually atrial fibrillation is the only finding. Usually there is a presence may denote that may be having a dominant MS because atrial fibrillation usually occurs in the early stages of mitral stenosis in contrast to MR where it can occur late stage. Okay, that's the only finding. And presence of pulmonary hypertension. This also favors is the MS. Okay, these two signs are there. Another patient, majority of finding is for a MR, right? So there is definitely a severe mitral regurgitation is there in this patient. In the presence of atrial fibrillation, difficult to comment also. In the patient is having a atrial fibrillation, it's very difficult to comment about the severity also. But with your finding, you can say an examination because dominant finding could be a MR, right?
Okay, sir.
Finding. So, what are you going to But other point what I want to say is the first point I want to discuss about S3 and this maybe the pulse volume that's mentioned. We're discussing about wide pulse pressure in the case of MR, isn't it? You said a wide pulse pressure in MR.
Yes, sir.
So what happened hemodynamic magnetic agitation? How do you get a wide pulse pressure in MR?
Okay.
If you know the hemodynamics, so how do you get a wide pulse pressure? In the case of AR accepted, so we have to have either the systolic pressure should be high.
Yes, sir.
Or diastolic pressure should be low.
Yes, sir.
Or the combination of both should happen to have a wide pulse pressure. Accepted?
Yes, sir.
So you can get in the case of AR because both components, they allow large systolic wall pressure and also more importantly the diastolic wall pressure will be very low.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what happened AR, PDA, all conditions where there is a hyperdynamic circulatory status. Starting from the physiological condition like fever, and exertion, exercise, so many things are there. The patient is having exertion, so anemia, beriberi, carpulmonale, pregnancy deformance, osteitis, Paget's, exercise emotion, fever, gravidorum, pregnancy. So all these are the conditions can produce Paget's. So all these patients produce a hyperdynamic circulatory status, which usually systolic pressure will be more. So you can produce a large volume pulse, wide pressure, collapsic pulse. Accept that.
Okay, sir.
Can you able to follow? Can you able to accept the points?
Yes, sir.
Like that, even sometimes arteriosclerosis, some changes in the vessel wall. Some changes in the vessel wall. So like arteriosclerosis, some damage is happening as age progresses. That also can produce a peripheral vessel resistance will be lower, can produce a larger impulse also, wide pulse pressure. But how can it happen mitral regurgitation? Why you should have mitral regurgitation? You think? So what will happen in mitral regurgitation? There's a blood leaks back into the left
atrium.
Yes, leaks back in left atrium from left ventricle. Again, it comes back to left ventricle, isn't it? So blood goes back to left atrium. The blood, it goes back into left atrium, and this plus the stroke volume, it comes out of the aorta also. So when the severe leak is there, so major blood will go back to the left atrium, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So how can you get a wide pulse pressure in mitral? This is what I wonder about your how can it happen? Is there any mechanism given? Any books?
No, sir.
Okay, refer and tell me also. But point here is my point is anyway check it. The one books very different. But what pulse volume you can get in MR is either it can be normal, or it can be low also. My point. Okay, it never be large. That's my point. My point. Anyway, you want to have a debate to be happen, you just check the books and tell me the reason. Because what happens is left ventricle try to contract. Volume of the left ventricle will be increasing. The diastolic volume increasing, it pumps. Same time, blood goes back into left ventricle. How can reduce the increase the stroke volume? Stroke volume is in fact it reduced only, isn't it? It cannot be increased because more blood leaks back into the left atrium. So what happens in the case of mitral regurgitation? There will be the early phase to compensate for that ejection phase. The early phase will be of more forceful. That's why you get a collapsing pulse. So it's a condition where you get a modified collapsing pulse. Severe MR can produce a collapsing pulse because of the early jerking pressure will make a collapsing pulse. Okay, that's a point
Okay,
about MR. Okay, so I don't agree that there will be a wide pulse pressure in MR. That point I don't agree.
Okay.
Anyway, I want any reference to give any books. You can come back to me and discuss about that. person. My point is that
Okay,
what
sir.
I read from many years back, that's what I can say. But any recently, if you want to say any update in the time, welcome to accept that maybe the whatever the books you want to refer can tell me that. My point is that it's pretty normal or in severe MR to be low also. That's what hemodynamically what I understand. Right?
Okay, sir.
That's what to clarify. And other points that I have discussed well nicely. Treatment, as you say, it's a treatment of cardiac failure and treatment of atrial fibrillation has to be highlighted. Very close to monitor investigation, all the echo, everything is highlighted. I think 11:40. So I have some more meeting. One more meeting is there. Examination. So shall we stop or any questions is there for another 5 minutes? Any questions? Any other doubt or anything you want to? Yes, welcome. Varsha presented very nicely, and the only thing is small modifications to be done.
Okay, sir. Thank
Whatever
you.
it is, otherwise the communication is very good. Okay, right. Any other Surya or Vaishnavi, Swarna? Everybody want to ask some questions and contribute anything about this class? You can. Most welcome. Unmute and ask some questions if you want. Representative.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir, I
madam.
don't think no one's having any doubts, sir.
So it means that everybody understood the class, or no one is listened to the class completely. What is the difference I get it? Vaishnavi,
Sir,
what is
I
your
had
interpretation?
doubts, actually.
Yes.
Sir, in
Just tell me.
MR, there will be less pulse volume, you told, no, sir?
Less pulse volume.
Yes, sir. Then how?
That's what I'm telling
jerking
you.
Yes, sir. I didn't
That was also
understand the part, sir.
one of the condition it produces a. When you say just one point, I want to make it now. I want to just a statement. I want to make it now. All large volume pulses are collapsing. Okay, all large volume pulses are collapsing. All collapsing pulses need not be large volume. This is a statement I want to make it out. So that means collapsing character. So patient supposed to lift the arm and see that suddenly it comes just and goes. The collapsing nature, isn't it? So there is almost always a feature of any patient with a large volume pulse. There are only two situations where we get a collapsing pulse but need not be large volume. Number one is a severe MR, number two is a large VST. Severe MR and large VST are the two conditions where it produces a what is called collapsing pulse. Always called something called pseudo collapsing pulse. Okay.
Yes,
The problem here is that because of the volume of the output of stroke volume may be this small, but it occurs very forcefully in the early phases of the study. Understand?
Okay,
So
sir.
the blood leaks back into left atrium in MR and leaks back into right ventricle in a severe or large VST. So to have a hemodynamically, some changes takes place left ventricle. So blood, I don't want the blood to leak back into the two chambers. That's what the left ventricle senses. So it tries to empty the blood, whatever blood that is there, try to empty more blood into the aorta. So that force is more in the early phase of systole. Normally, the mid phase systole is the action phase, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, mid phase is the action phase, isn't it? So here, even during mid phase happens, that blood force is transmitted to the aorta, and so that produces a modified collapsing pulse. That's the theory, as we mentioned. Understand?
Sir. Yes,
The point
sir. Thank
clear?
you, sir. Yes, sir.
Varshini, okay, she has asked some good question. So if no one else want to answer any question, I think conclude or any wait for some more questions for anybody. or you can ask me some personally also, some question also can be posted to my number also, you can interact on some other class. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.
ஜூம் மீட்டிங் 12 மணி எடிட் பண்ணிப்பா வரும் அப்போ எங்கே வச்சிருக்கேன்
சரி
இது க்ளோஸ் பண்ணிட்டு சார் கரை போயிட்டாரா
சார் சார் நிச்சயம் சார் இருக்காருமா ரமணன் சார் கேட்டாருமா
சொல்லுங்க இது சார் சொல்லுங்க
சரி
Anyone?
என்ன வருஷமா?